other. We're neighbors on top of that. But you do travel more than almost anyone I know. And so what we're going to do is talk about your latest adventure was a little unusual one. You do mainly ocean cruises. But this was a river cruise that you did.
My very first.
And what river cruise company did you choose?
Okay, I chose the Viking river cruise. And of course, we were locked into certain dates because Fred Wong wanted to be in Budapest for the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix.
Which is an unusual one, right? You go on these amazing adventures with not only you do motorcycle races and the Grand Prix.
Correct.
And the Grand Prix you've seen in some amazing places.
Yes, last year was Monaco, and we've been to Estoril, we've been to Abu Dhabi.
And this one was
Singapore.
An unusual location. Was there a particular reason why this group that you do these trips with chose Hungary?
Budapest. My first impressions of Budapest was, it's an Eastern European country.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it would be up to par, maybe.
Oh, yeah, because then they got the glamour of Monaco, right? Or some of these other European countries. And you saw one race that was motorcycle in above Barcelona, which is an interesting
we've
one.
been to San Marino, Mugello, so.
Yeah, and so what was Budapest like for this?
It's an incredible city.
Is it really?
It is fabulous, and I think that's going to be, if it's not already, one of the hottest destinations.
Well, people are looking for destinations they have not been to before. We all know about the overpopulation, over-tourism happening in places like Spain, right?
Correct.
Italy,
Venice.
Rome. Yeah. So there are a lot of, and cruise lines looking for new destinations. So first let's go into Buda and Pest. And it's an interesting combination of a city on the banks of a river, right?
Yes. So, the Buda side is more of the green, more affluent side, and the Pest side is less so. And so it's interesting. They kind of have this, what part do you live? Well, I live on the Buddha side.
Oh, really? Is that like left bank versus it a little bit like the same?
Correct. Yeah, it's very interesting, and you can see the difference. When you cross the river.
Interesting.
And you can see the difference.
Which is the older side?
The older side. I'm not sure. Maybe the Pest side? I think the Pest side looks older.
It's gone through a lot of changes.
Oh,
now,
my
it was a
gosh.
Muslim country for a while, wasn't it?
It's gone through so many changes and wars and hardships. And it was an interesting comment one of our tour guides made. She said, we have been through many wars, and every war we've been through, we've been on the losing side.
Oh, wow.
So if we go to war again, with another country, make sure you go on the opposite side, because we'll be on the losing side. So they've kind of been oppressed. However, the city is very clean, and the prices are very reasonable. And
What currency do they use?
well, they'll take the euro, they'll take the dollar. They do have their own currency. However, you don't have to convert.
And you stayed on which side?
I stayed on the Pest side. Well, first we were overnight on the boat, the river boat, the Viking Tor, Tor, because we arrived in Budapest and we stayed overnight, which is great.
On the boat.
Yes.
And then you stayed on the Pest side.
Yes.
And where, let me guess, Marriott Hotel?
No, actually.
you usually stay in Marriott's.
Actually, we joined that Moto Express
Oh, right.
group.
They have their own package.
So they have their own hotel that they chose, which is the My Maison, Andrassy.
Nice.
Which is right on Andrassy, which is like the longest, grandest boulevard. And it ends at Hero Square, which is this huge square with all these beautiful monuments and museums.
Really?
So we were a 5-minute walk from there.
Oh, nice.
And for example, we arrived and we had lunch. So they had a wonderful restaurant. And for €10 for lunch, you had a choice of an appetizer and an entree, and they gave you a glass of wine.
Wow.
For
that's
€10.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the food was outstanding.
What kind of food?
Well, so Fred had the appetizer with the, well, you're vegetarian, rabbit liver pate.
Uh-huh.
It was out of this world.
Really?
And two very generous little mounds of it. And
Is it meat and potatoes kind of city, or is it? No?
everything.
Everything,
It's got
yeah.
everything. And the flavors are, well, and then, of course, they're Hungarian goulash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of potatoes and cream and a lot of beef,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you did, the race was right there on that side?
It was about a half-hour drive.
And it went right through the city, or was it
No,
a
no,
course?
no.
It was
it's
a
on a
course.
track. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
on a course.
So that was nice. Good racing.
It was a great race. And
Weather nice? Hot?
It was hot. Lewis Hamilton won, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he came from behind.
Uh-huh.
He was, 12 seconds behind. And because he had fresher tires, he was slowly able, each lap, gained and crossed the finish line first.
So did you go to any of the museums and wander around the town?
We wandered around town, but we didn't get to go into the museums. They have a lot, and some of them are under renovation.
Mm-hmm.
They have just about everything you would want to see. The shopping is phenomenal.
Is it
there.
really?
Yes.
I had
Yes.
not heard that.
Mhm.
And churches, did you go to any of the, I know you did in Nuremberg on the other side.
Yeah,
You went to
yeah,
some
we
churches,
did.
but-
We did go into the churches, and it's Gothic, and it's very grand, and you wouldn't think that it would be so. And
Well, it's whenever there's a lot of history, you're going to get that. I mean, and we know European influence. There's always these amazing churches, but I think in some of those places also there was a lot of Muslim influence and some mosques as well.
yes, and they were converted.
And some of the architecture and the Islamic influenced architecture is absolutely amazing in some of them. And then they'll take some of that and rebuild it into a church as well.
Right, and we did an interesting tour. We did a wine tour. Did
Oh,
you
really?
know that they grow grapes there?
Well,
They-
almost everyone does now, so I'm not surprised, but I mean, I never would have thought of it. Probably Riesling and white wines.
Yes, and quite impressive.
Uh-huh.
And we I booked through Viator,
Uh-huh.
and we got picked up at the hotel, and we went to 3 wineries, and the area was just absolutely
Is it
beautiful. You don't-
hills? Is it back in the
little,
country?
little bit, not very tall hills,
Uh-huh.
but it was absolutely beautiful. And our tour guide, dropped us off, and the owners of the wineries did the wine tasting.
Well, that's nice. So you get to actually talk to the owners.
Yes,
I
and,
love that.
And they're so passionate, and they live there, and they,
Uh-huh.
this
They
one
speak English?
they speak perfect English, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of them have been trained in Bordeaux.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so this
You brought pictures.
gentleman, he's-
Christine brought pictures.
he's got 5 kids.
Just so we can describe them. That's a very nice family. A lot of
Yes,
kids.
a lot of kids,
And there's an art, of course, to growing good grapes, and it's not easy. I mean, you really have to be farmer consciousness,
and-
but on top of that, have a lot of intelligence, and usually go to school because there's so many elements into making a good crop, and then you have to be flexible in case the weather changes, and things happen. So you might have to actually harvest early or late, depending on what's going on. So there's a lot of elements, and it's very risky because if you get
it's very risky.
very risky business. In
and
case
they
you get
try to
bad.
keep it organic.
Well, that's good.
They do. And,
So many of wines these days have phosphates and things that are
well,
chemicals.
and they're planting herbs to prevent the bugs from
Good.
from eating the grapes and the leaves. So I thought, wow, that's really clever.
It is.
And so
Is that the
this-
name of the company?
Yeah.
Anonym?
So it was interesting because the owner, he couldn't decide on a name for his winery.
So it's anonymous?
It's like anonymous, and yet he has 5 children.
And he had all the names.
Had to name 5 children.
Well, we got to insert here that you travel a lot, and this is the first time you had a long delay on getting your bags back.
Right.
And you did have a flight. You always use United. You're 1K, but usually there's not a problem. But where was the breakdown? Because you literally had to wait like 5 days to get your bags back, which is, thank God it's here, because you would have been in trouble if it was going over. But it was when you came home. But still, at one point you thought they'd lost them for good, right?
Right. So I had checked in 2 bags in Budapest. So the first flight was Budapest to Zurich.
Uh-huh.
And that was
a small airline?
On Swiss Air.
No, Swiss Air's not
Swiss
small.
Air,
No.
Yes. So then I checked in, and we were delayed out of Budapest because Zurich had some bad weather. So consequently, we only had a 2-hour layover in Zurich. Then our next flight...
Well, that's still enough time.
Yeah, you would think so. Then our next flight was Zurich to San Francisco.
A long flight.
And
was
then,
that on a Lufthansa?
No, that was also on Swiss Air.
Oh.
And then...
And they're partners with United.
Yes, they are. Then the next segment was on United. So the air was included with the Viking River Cruise.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they had a promotion.
Uh-huh.
And so the air was included from the West Coast. So I picked San Francisco as my departure city. So then once we got back to San Francisco, I booked the San Francisco Maui on my own on United. Well, because the flight was late departing Budapest, so we got into Zurich late, and practically everyone on our flight missed their connection.
You didn't miss yours?
I did.
Oh, coming to Maui, you did?
No. The Budapest to Zurich,
But you
that
didn't-
was late. So
you missed Zurich to San Francisco.
So they
You actually missed your flight from Zurich?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because our connection was only 2 hours. So
Oh, my
so
gosh.
Swiss Air put us up into a hotel
In Switzerland, you spent the night?
in Zurich.
Oh, I did not know you did that.
At the Movenpick, which is
right at the airport?
Yes, lovely hotel. You take a little shuttle, and gave us meal vouchers. And then the next day, actually, it worked out really wonderful, because the next day they rebooked us on United Airlines.
Oh, and you have an upgrade.
And yes, Zurich to San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
So the gate agent was so nice. I just asked, I noticed there's one business class seat. And
you're holding your breath and smiling.
Then I said, and she goes, oh, yes. And she asked me, would you like to use your global upgrade, which is part of being the 1K? And
you get how many? You get a global?
I get 6 a year.
Uh-huh.
So I said, oh, sure. I didn't think I could, because this was booked through Viking River Cruise.
Right.
And I wasn't sure what the fare category, there's all this.
Right.
So anyway, I said, sure, if I can. So literally right before Fred and I were about to board the plane, they said, oh, you got your upgrade.
Nice.
So
very nice.
So Fred didn't. However,
you got it. He didn't. I hate when that happens.
However, he got the exit row, which is with the huge bulkhead space.
Right.
So I said, well, Fred, I'll go halfway, which is like a 11-hour flight. So halfway, and then I'll come get you.
And he said no.
So halfway through, I went back, and he's like, no, I'm fine. So
Good.
I said, okay.
But then you made the connection, okay,
So then
from Maui
San Francisco to Maui. Then when we landed in San Francisco, only one of my checked bags made it.
Wow, so it happened in Zurich.
So, yes. So, and I had asked the United attendant, I said, I just want to make sure that, my bags are all set to get on the plane. Oh, yeah, they're both here, don't worry. Well, so when we arrived in San Francisco, waited till all the luggage came out.
Because that's when you do customs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our luggage didn't come out. Then we had to check the other bag in and go through TSA again.
Oh, no, I hate that.
Yes. So luckily...
So you literally had to go, and it's a good thing you had more time.
Well, and I have TSA pre-check.
Yeah.
But still, we didn't have much time,
Yeah.
because you don't know how
And
long.
there's a lot of space that you have to cover in San Francisco.
Yes, and then we had to go to gate 90.
Oh, no.
You
I
know
know
where
that. I
90
do. It's at the end there, yeah.
So anyway, we did that, and we,
It's a little stressful at that point, right?
well, you know.
Did you ever have to break into a run?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. All
Well,
right.
except you know how fast I walk.
You walk faster than most people run.
So
Absolutely true.
some people would say it was a
How long was the total trip?
Oh, I can't even. You mean?
Well,
flight?
from beginning to end, not going on flying, but from the beginning of your trip to the...
we left July 22nd, was it? Yeah, and we got back August 5th.
Well, that was a long trip.
Mhm.
Yeah. So tell us, we didn't talk about the river cruise. What was the river cruise like?
Okay, so we started in Nuremberg, Germany.
And you hadn't been there before.
No, and
I was there years ago, and I was pretty impressed. It has been completely built over since the war. It was bombed out during the war, right?
And the Nuremberg trial.
Oh, yeah. It's a heavy
gosh,
city.
It's heavy.
Heavy city, yeah.
And Hitler would have his rallies.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I mean,
And there was the gun works and everything was being built there. That was used as their machine base for funding the war.
Yes. So we started in Nuremberg, arrived there probably the hottest day they've ever had.
Oh, really?
It was incredibly hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got onto the ship.
You spent the night in Nuremberg? Or 2 days?
Yeah, we spent the night, which is good because it allows for people that missed their connections or their flight was delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Regensburg,
I don't know that.
which is also in Germany, and then Passau, which is absolutely beautiful, and scenic cruising of the Wachau Valley. Went to Krems, Austria, Vienna, and
Had you been to Vienna before?
yes, and
It's a
then
beautiful
we
city.
took the trip to
I was-
Salzburg.
Yeah, Salzburg is. I've been to Salzburg and Vienna. And Vienna, I love the old church. Oh my gosh, the church and the old town city and everything is so beautiful. And did you go to the opera house? The opera house in Vienna is amazing. It's just gorgeous, like gold. And I mean, I remember in Vienna going to that little theater that the magic flute was played at, Mozart. You can go to that, and it's a small little
Yes,
theater.
it's very tiny.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
went to Salzburg and we did what they called the Sound of Music tour.
Oh, that's nice.
So we went to sites that they filmed the movie. Interestingly enough, majority of the people in Austria have not seen the movie
Oh, that's strange.
because, and I even asked the tour guide, I said, have you seen the movie Sound of Music? Oh, no. And she said, the people here, we're not interested. We have better movies.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes,
I wouldn't have guessed that.
yes.
Because it's brought tourism to that area. There are people that go there just to have the Sound of Music tour.
Exactly. So while we were having lunch, they had the students from the university came and performed some of the songs from the movie.
But you can't easily get to that mountain where they did The Hills Are Alive
No.
with the Sound of Music. That's outside the city, I believe, isn't
Right,
it?
right.
Yeah.
And then we ended up in Budapest, and we were there overnight.
So let's talk about the actual cruise, because there was a lot of concern. In fact, I think you got a warning that rivers might be very low. Everyone knows how hot it's been in Europe. It's been record-breaking heat in Europe.
Like here.
Right, but hotter. I mean,
Yes.
they've been hot. They had like 113 in Paris and Italy. It's been hot, and a lot of European towns don't have air conditioning, and the rivers aren't used to being that hot. So they've been having issues on river cruises, right?
Correct. So just before we left, we get a email from Viking Cruises saying that there might be a possibility that we could be bust if the river levels are too low, that our boat cannot go through.
Now, I'm trying to picture, of course, we've all seen these ads on Masterpiece Theater of these long, long, long boats, right? but they're pretty shallow. They're not real. They don't need a lot of water, do they? I mean, they're not real deep
Right,
boats.
right.
Yeah.
The length was 443 feet.
I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, for hours, and it held maximum 190 people.
It's not a small boat. Okay.
A crew of 50, and
Uh-huh.
we had about 180 passengers. So we were warned, and so I kind of didn't want to unpack completely.
Right.
So when we went to Salzburg, luckily that day it rained where the boat was, because
Good.
the boat would go through the locks. They have many locks to go through, and then so we would meet the boat at a different port. So luckily it rained enough that they said we don't have to be bussed, because the previous cruise they had to. So then that means you have to repack, put your luggage out, and then they will bus you to a different boat.
It's not the same boat. It's a
No,
different
because
boat. Yeah,
the
'cause they
boat can't
go.
move. So they'll bus you to a different boat, and then you have different crew and
Oh, the whole thing's
the
different.
whole thing.
Wow.
So,
And you don't know the room you'll get necessarily. I guess it depends on the size of the boat.
Well, it would be comparable,
Yeah.
hopefully, to what you had.
What did you think of your room?
Ugh, it was the smallest, maybe the
I mean, you know
size
I
of-
don't like small
Cindy-
rooms. You know I do not like
Cindy-
small cabin rooms.
Cindy, I think your studio here is
Yeah.
larger. Yes.
Not.
Yes.
Seriously?
Seriously. I'm looking
So
at
you're
it.
talking about a bed and a closet.
Yeah, 145 square feet. It was.
It's small.
It's very small.
Because typically an ocean cruise line, you get about 300, 250,
Right,
300.
correct,
So it's
yeah.
half the size
Right.
of what you get on an ocean cruise
Yes.
line. And what about the bathroom? Small.
The bathroom is small.
Small. Shower.
Shower.
No bath, of course.
And they call it a French balcony.
And that's not really anything you can stand on.
No, you can't. You just open the door. There's,
And there's a
nothing
little
to
railing there.
step out to, and you poke your head
And,
out, and you can, if your
But
neighbor.
it's full glass, so you can see out nicely.
Yes.
But you can't sit there on those balconies.
no.
I think the new ones are trying to do those, aren't they? I think the new river cruise ones are starting to incorporate real balconies or more space in a balcony. That's
yes,
what I've been saying.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because that is an issue. That's been one of the reasons I haven't done a river cruise, because I don't like claustrophobic small rooms.
Well,
I'd like to be able to do yoga in the morning, and in a room like that, I don't think I could do yoga,
Well, then you would have to do the Explorer Suite.
and that's a lot more money.
Oh, yes, and there's only 2 of them.
Only 2 of them. Wow.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. So now they have how many restaurants in this particular?
Okay, so they have the main dining room, and then you can also.
Which is how big about? It's
Oh,
pretty big?
it'll fit everybody.
Okay.
And then they have the Aquavit Terrace.
And that's
Yeah.
on top?
Yeah, that's on top, and then you can either dine in or outside, and that's about it. And
the
no,
Aqua Terrace is separate from dining in or outside, or is that the same place?
that's the same place.
So
but
there's
the-
only 2 restaurants.
right, and the main dining room is only inside.
Interesting.
And
so
no-
not a lot of choices.
No, and no room service.
Oh my.
No room service.
Well, were you surprised by that?
No.
So the food is included,
the food is included.
Alcohol?
And beer and wine.
beer and wine.
And they're very generous with the beer and wine.
Uh-huh.
If you wanted a
No,
breakfast,
coffee
lunch, and
and,
dinner, coffee.
Yes, and tea.
Yes.
Water?
Water.
In the
yes,
room, water?
Yes. And an excursion is included at every port.
But you don't always know if you want their excursion that they include.
Well, it's complimentary, so you
You take
sign
it
up
if you
for
want.
it, and they always give you water as you're leaving.
What did you think of their excursions?
I thought they were very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted another excursion, because the excursions were short enough, you'd have breakfast, you go out on your excursion 3-4 hours, and then you'd go back to the boat and have lunch.
For lunch. How was the food? I know
The
you're an
food-
Epicurean. You like your food, and you like a lot of fresh seafood.
I thought the food was excellent. I
Really?
really did. Yes, I really did. And I found the portions were perfect. For example, breakfast, it's called an egg Benedict. Because
What? I'm sorry. It's usually eggs Benedict.
No, because
This is an egg Benedict.
egg.
I'm
singular.
sorry, that's funny.
Because it's one English muffin with one Canadian bacon and one poached egg and your hollandaise sauce, which is perfect size. So it's an egg Benedict.
Hash browns?
You can
Potatoes?
order hash browns. Well, I ordered, they have wonderful French toast. And it was 2 triangles. So I would order egg Benedict, French toast, and it'd come with fresh fruit, and you get your
That's
coffee.
nice. Yeah,
and
that's fine.
yes, and then they have a buffet area. You can get your cold cuts, your cheeses, your muesli, your oatmeal, yeah, and your pastries, and it was wonderful.
And for lunch?
And for lunch, you can. They had the best fish and chips, just like in England.
Really?
Best fish and chips, and sandwiches and salads, and if you wanted a good old hamburger, hot dog.
Was the highlight of the river cruise Austria?
Well, I'd say Budapest.
Really? Over
Yeah,
Vienna and Salzburg?
Yes, and just cruising down. So I would say, well, down the Danube, it was absolutely beautiful, and the locks were interesting. Going through the locks, because all of a sudden, everything would be dark.
And that's at the beginning?
It's
No.
throughout.
Throughout your block?
Throughout.
Okay.
Yes.
I've never done a river cruise,
And because you have about 180 people, it's very intimate.
You
and
get to know
and
people.
you get to really know people.
So do you have dinner by yourself on your own table, or do they seat you with other people?
You can sit anywhere. It's open seating. However, the first night we went all the way in the back of the dining room and just really loved the waiter, and then we met people, and come to find out this couple, her birthday was going to be on the same day as my birthday. So because I celebrated my birthday on the boat, and then
Well, happy birthday. You didn't post anything about that on your texts and your pictures?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
July 29th. And so the first night, there was a couple, Anne and David, from Florida, and they were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
So, they sang for them, gave them a cake. And then so the next night, we were sitting the same area, and we sat together. Then from that time, they kind of just wanted to join us every night. And then this other couple that her birthday was the same as mine, Debbie and Steve. So there were almost like eight of us that every night had dinner together.
Nice. You
Yeah.
made some new friends.
Yes,
yeah?
you do. You make a lot of new friends, and then
Would you do it again?
I would choose a different routing.
That was the question. You know what? I've looked at all the brochures.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they spend money on those brochures? But I mean, I never really can decide, because yes, I like Vienna, but I didn't know about the others, and it's really hard to say. And some of the ones they promote, there's a lot of castles. They have the Rhine one,
Yes,
right, with
the
a lot
Rhine.
of castles that look
That's
interesting.
very popular.
Yeah, and but then I thought, well, Vienna's nice. So you think the route wasn't the best route as far as your excursions and your stops along the way? Is that why you wouldn't choose that route again?
No, I wouldn't. I'd want to try something different.
Right. There's one that goes through Paris. Not Paris, actually, France.
Yes.
Which is interesting. But again, you can't get there directly. So if you fly into Paris, you have to take, I think, a bus to get to the places you go to there. And that spends time, I think, in Provence and some of the areas down there.
And
so
Normandy, there's one that
there's
you
one
can
that
go
goes
to
down.
Normandy.
Yeah, there's one that goes there. And it's interesting because people that have done ocean cruises are still really popular. River cruises are a little different. Viking is still popular, but some people swear that Amma and Emerald are, even though Viking spends a ton of money doing advertisements, some people say the Amma and the Emerald are better river cruises than Viking. But you've never been on this, so you don't know.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
know. I was very pleased with Viking. And I thought it was a very good value.
What was the cost, if you don't mind me asking?
It was about $3,000 a person.
Including air.
Yes, from
that is a
San
good value.
Francisco. Yes.
No, that is a good. Yeah. And in the summertime,
right.
because the summer prices go up. So Yeah, I mean, that is an excellent price then.
I
And
thought so.
of course, you weren't in and out an extra day. You weren't doing the pre and post,
No, no.
so it was just getting in
No.
there.
Yeah, because they had a pre, it would be have been in Prague, I think a three night.
That's one of the reasons I
Pre-cruise.
thought of doing the pre, because I like Prague so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my father was born in Prague, and again, it's a heavy city. It's a heavy. I mean, it's a very heavy city. Come on in, sit down. You know, I mean, first time I went to Prague, I have such a history there with my father, right? But he was born there, just outside at the castle of Prague there. But I didn't understand my father until I had actually gone to Prague. And I noticed, he's an architect. And, of course, it's famous for its architecture, and for good reason. I mean, I love the architecture, and it wasn't bombed out because they had been taken over by the Germans. So you do have some old cities and buildings and everything. So I do love Prague, and I think I might go back to Prague if I did one of those again. But it's just a whole other thing, because then you add on the price of the pre, and on the pre, and without fail, I feel that the charges for the pre and post are rather expensive, not only on the river cruises but also on the ones that are
The ocean. I
Because
totally agree.
you look at it and you think you're getting a good price for the room, but then you see that's per person.
Per person, correct.
So you think you're getting a hotel for $350 a night, and it's actually usually $700 or something
Correct.
ridiculous. So I'm
You're
going,
better off booking it on your own.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, some people like it just because you don't have to think about it, and they take care of getting you and transferred to the actual things, which is nice. But still, if you can do it on your own, you'll save hundreds of dollars.
Exactly.
And a lot of the hotels you can get are the same ones you'd get if that you would use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you found that out in Barcelona, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So all in all, you'd say you would, but you don't know if you'd use Viking. It depends. You might try another cruise line.
Well, it depends on the dates and the itinerary. Because we were kind of locked into,
Having to be
the
certain
end
places.
of July, and we wanted to end in Budapest, on a certain date, August 3rd, I believe it was, so we're really locked in. So,
But you did get to experience a new place you've never been, and you traveled
Right.
to lots of places. So that there is something to saying, okay, I saw another whole area that I've never seen before.
yes, and I have a cute story. The guide that took us on the wine tour, so her name was Susanna, and when she picked us up, she asked, "Where are you from?" And we said, "Hawaii." And most people, they say, "Oh, you're from Hawaii." Well, she asked, "Which island?" Which is
She
very
knew, yes,
interesting. Well, she had been to Maui twice.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
she lives in Budapest. And
It's a long way.
so anyway, that same day she's driving us. She has a son and a daughter. Her son lost his fish hook that he bought in
Oh.
Lahaina.
Really?
And she told him not to take it on his trip. But
Yeah.
of course he didn't listen, teenager. So I told her, "Susanna, no problem. I will get one and mail it to you." And she was just so happy. Well, at the airport in Budapest and to Zurich, there was a gentleman and his wife and two daughters, and they were on the same itinerary, Budapest to Zurich, Zurich to San Francisco. So we kept running into each other at the hotel, trying to talk to the gate agent, and guess what? They're in Maui right now.
Oh, that is
So
amazing.
You talk about a small world. So they're staying at Napili Shores, and they are going to take the little
Back?
fish hook
Oh,
necklace
my gosh,
back
what- that's
to
a-
Susanna.
That's a great story.
And his wife, Christian's wife, Agnes, she works at a patisserie 15 minutes from where Susanna lives.
That's wonderful.
So
it is a small
small
world.
world.
It is really.